Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Mosher, Adam Kaplan, and we're going to continue our NFL draft preview series. We're going to take a little bit of a different path with this one. Last podcast, we started by previewing the cornerback position. We are going to get into linebackers, but also there's been some draft movement over the last 48 hours or so that definitely impacts well, I shouldn't say definitely, but it could impact what the Eagles do at 12, Adam. We know that. So we'll get into that. Obviously, the trade that the Panthers make to get Sam Darnold, they pick ahead of the Eagles. They're probably not going to take a quarterback now. And then there's just some other news, what the Falcons do at 4. So we'll kind of take a big picture look now at what the Eagles are going to probably wind up at 12 with, or if they have to move up to get a guy that they want. And then we'll get into some linebackers. I think you and I both agree that despite the need, I can't see the Eagles taking a linebacker in the first round in the top 12 ever.
No. That would be the biggest upset in Eagles history.
Now, people
Other
have
than the Eagles
asked,
taking the Patriots to the Super Bowl, that would be it's just not what they believe, the philosophy. We talked about this in the in our live stream, that their philosophy was you build with the offensive defensive lines, quarterback, okay, linebacker in terms of cap dollars is on the bottom. That's just what they believe. Doesn't mean they're right, but that's what they believe. Now, it's worked for them over the years. However, that's one thing. The lack of development at the position is a major problem. That's whether it's a coaching issue, a draft issue. It's been a problem because they just have not been nearly as good as they need to be. They haven't even been average there. If they could have just been average over the years, it might have been good.
Yeah, we'll get into that later in the pod because some interesting developments with some former Eagles defensive coaches that we can talk about. Linebacker development was something that Quentin Michael and Jason Avant really got into in the Q&A that dropped on Wednesday morning, Adam. It was really good. Both are fans of Alex Singleton, and it's hard not to be. Alex Singleton has really kind of outperformed what you expect. He was on that list the NFLPA puts out for performance-based pay. He's certainly outperformed his paycheck. There's some good potential there, but they both did discuss the issues the Eagles have right now at that position with what they want to do defensively, and Quentin Michael was really able to expand on that. I mean, you have in Alex Singleton, ideally in the defense that we think they want to run, a Zimmer-style defense, Singleton is probably better suited as your Sam backer. They really need that middle linebacker who, when they're playing some Tampa 2 or just cover 2, whatever kind of zone they may be in, that can carry that deep middle, that can run and have that spatial awareness we talk about. And they both admitted that this team, you can't find a guy on the roster right now that has that track record of being able to do it. So when we talk about need, right, you and I say cornerback is definitely a need for the Eagles. And that's why we can say first round corner is you should talk about. Linebacker is just as much of a need, but as you're mentioning, the whole positional value thing, I wonder if there will be a day if they ever do take a linebacker in the first round under the Howie Roseman regime while they're still running a 4-3. Maybe the later bottom, but I still doubt it. There's
okay. Actually, on what you just said, if this was, of course, we're moving this way in front, but
yeah,
I could see a scenario. If this is I don't want to say in 2017 they came out of the blue. I picked them to be 9-7, but I didn't think I thought they'd push for a wild card maybe if things were great.
Yeah.
And obviously they won the Super Bowl. But it wasn't like they planned, they didn't know that they would be an elite team. So let's say over a series of years, they finally get the draft right. They've got all these 11 picks. We know they're not going to keep 11 picks, but let's say over the next 2 years, they actually start building a pretty good defense. The coaching's good and all that. Let's just say everything works out, right? Maybe if they're a solid playoff team over the next 2 to 3 years, I think 3 years is probably realistic more than the next 2 years. But anyway, and they're picking in the mid to late 20s, and they're really not a lot of weaknesses where they could take whoever they want. Maybe, just maybe they do it because, and if Gannon has not got a head coaching job, which if it goes well he's going to only coach here for 2 years. If he's really as good as people around the league tell me he is, he's probably going to be fetched to be a head coach after 2 years. But if things are good on defense, I could see the change in philosophy if they're picking mid to late 20s and they go, our board's obliterated. We can't find who we want. As you're talking about, whether it's a dropper, for zone, or it's just an outstanding football player that Roseman finally says, listen, this is where our roster is. This is the Scott. It lines up on our grades.
Right.
Okay.
So it would take
an
unusual sort of extraordinary set of circumstances for that to happen. Right. Is what we're basically saying here.
Right. Thank you. Better summary than I did. Thank you. You encapsulated it in seconds. Yeah.
Also, Q&A, if you haven't listened to it, you got to check it out. Some great flashbacks of Jim Johnson, an explanation of why his defense really worked, and not only worked, Adam, but also was able to develop the talent within it, which, as you and I have talked about, and they also touched on, just has not been the same, especially at cornerback since he passed. And obviously they underwent major coaching changes, but the development has not been there. Both of them big on Patrick Surtain over J.C. Horn. Now you'll have to listen to find out why.
All right, can you give us a nugget? Give me a little.
I think. All right,
just a little.
It's sort of what I alluded to on the live stream with you. Why would you choose one over the other? They both admit Horn has all the traits and the twitched up stuff to be a great corner, but they really are enamored with what's upstairs with Patrick Surtain there.
Got it.
And when you want to play a defense where you're mixing your coverage, disguising your coverage, and you have the most football intelligence you can get on the field for that, they said Patrick Surtain. Plus, they made a really good point that I didn't think about, and I think it's pretty cool. They were saying how, and listen, these guys played in the NFL, so they know the deal here. They were saying how when your father is a 3-time Pro Bowler at a position, it's pretty common for a guy, a kid, to say, all right, I'll play a different position, or I'm not going to go and try to be the exact same, because there's a ton of pressure on you when you come up through the ranks and your name is so-and-so and so-and-so junior, and whoever so-and-so is happens to be a 3-time Pro Bowler. The fact that he never shied from that showed them that he has got a real competitive thirst that you just want. You want a nice hard hit. They haven't had a hard-hitting, tackling cornerback since Sheldon Brown. And this kid, coming out of the draft is even more talented than Sheldon was. So I think they like the bloodlines, the competitiveness, the football intelligence. It was Jason. I'm going to give this away. Jason said he would punch his TV if Surtain was on the board and the Eagles passed on him.
But wait a minute. What if they took, I got to hear this because I want to hear the context. What if it's Horn? Would he still be mad if they took Horn over Surtain?
Great comment. I don't want to give too much away, but there is something
now you wanted my appetite. I got to hear this.
There's something that they don't like that they both noticed about Horn.
Okay.
That's not what Greg Cosell about the grabbiness. That's true that he can be grabby, but there's something else related to how he plays the position that they felt. Jason even went to say, I wouldn't even take him in the first round because of it. So everybody's yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Good stuff there. All right. So wow. Yeah. That's what I said. I thought, the Jim Johnson stories were great. They also broke down linebackers, some really good ones like we'll do for this show today. Obviously we want to get into the Sam Darnold trade. That was big. That impacts the Eagles at 12. I also want to tell you guys, and you heard me talking about it on the last podcast, that how much I love winning. And I told you guys that story about me hitting the game-winning free throws with 1 second on the clock to help my high school team win an intramural basketball championship. Adam, I also have, and you probably do too, because I know how much you love this stuff. I have the first fantasy football championship banner I've ever won.
A banner?
Well, like a little flag. ESPN used to give it.
Oh, okay, got it.
Before Yahoo got in on it, but I have that little flag with a running back, and it's like.
It's cool.
I still have it hanging because that's how much I appreciate winning that championship. And I may have retired from athletics a long, long time ago, but I'm still winning now because I use Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. And if it sounds too good to be true, you're right, it is. I've seen a car sold for $900. A brand new TV went for less than $2.
Here's the app. I've actually entered 2 auctions already. It's actually really good.
It is.
If you need a tablet, oh my gosh, you could get some for like $5 or $10. You obviously have to win the auction, but it's really easy to use. But go ahead, Jeff. I just want to let people know it's pretty good.
Well, no, I'm glad you did. And so don't be a loser and stop paying full retail price for the things that you want to get. Just go to dealdash.com or download the app. And by the way, when you register, use the promo code ITB to get a special offer for some free bids. That's it. A promo code ITB. You get a special offer. You get free bids, and you start bidding away. And maybe you come home with something, really nice that ordinarily would cost
it's fun.
couple hundred, couple thousand. You get it for a few bucks.
Yeah, the app is really easy to use, and it's the bid system is interesting. It's way different than eBay. It's so much better than eBay. And the thing about eBay, my problem with eBay is that all the fees that they charge.
Oh God,
that's why I don't sell anything on eBay anymore, because they take so much money off.
Yeah. No. Deal Dash is the way to go. It's all
Deal Dash is easy, folks. Just download it, read up on it. It takes like 2 minutes to learn how you do it, and there you go.
All right. So let's get into this trade. Obviously, Adam, the Panthers trade for Sam Darnold. They are sitting there at 8th overall. And I think a lot of the hope of Eagles fans was the Panthers were going to take a quarterback, which yet pushes another non-quarterback player down the list for the Eagles to get. Because as you sit here today at 12, it's pretty, to get a guy like Horn, to get a guy like Surtain, who else would the Eagles have their eyes on? Maybe a Jalen Waddle. No guarantees right now at 12. But if two other quarterbacks went in the top 10 and pushed that down, you start to feel a little better about it.
Yeah. Well, again, what Eagle fans were hoping, and any team that wants a corner or receiver, and we'll get into, and I put together my needs board from several conversations with people I trust. And the problem that the Eagles are going to run into is that there are players that they like, that teams ahead of them are going to like. And now that the Panthers have done this, and I totally agree, they're not taking a quarterback. They put it out there. Oh, we're not out of the quarterback race at 8. Okay. But when you give up a future 2, and I understand it's not this year, but it's a future 2 other draft picks, Sam Darnold's your starter for 2 seasons by contract structure. They're going to roll over his 5th-year option before it's due on May 3rd. He'll be their quarterback for 2 seasons. They're not going with the quarterback at 8. Their biggest needs are, wouldn't you know it, cornerback and wide receiver, which are, to me, I don't count linebacker as the Eagles' top need, because they don't. Do they need 6 linebackers or 5 linebackers? Yeah, but they don't value it like other teams do. It's corner and wide receiver. So it's not good, man. I'm telling you, it's not good, because the Cowboys, their top need is corner. The Lions, their top needs are wide receiver.
They need everything.
Corner.
Yeah,
right. Everything. Right. Okay, Dolphins. They are definitely in the wide receiver market.
Right.
Bengals are absolutely in the wide receiver market. So to me, none of those top receivers are going to be there. Here's my question for you, though. And this is the issue now, I think, for this Eagles team and this front office. If their receiver and cornerback high-end board gets obliterated, are you trading down? Or if you start seeing that they might be in trouble, do you trade up? I was kind of what I'd heard on the Panthers was they were out of the Deshaun Watson acquisition race, so to speak. They wanted him badly. They were all in. They tried hard. But when the Watson off the field stuff came out, and when it got worse and worse and worse, they were out.
I have to imagine that pretty much everyone.
No, that's what I heard about 2 weeks ago. In fact, Joe Douglas and the Panthers GM were seeing Fitterer. They were seen together talking, and the couple guys who saw them talking, they didn't know that they were talking about Darnold. They, maybe they were friends or something. It's the problem with this stuff. You don't know what it means.
Right.
So I think Fitterer said that it got sort of moved forward at the pro day. Well, it was at the Ohio State pro day,
right?
Where he, apparently. So now you got an issue. You got all these teams that need receivers and corners. So Jeff, what would you do now? Would you trade up if you're Roseman?
Well, you have to see how the board falls. I think that there's 2 spots here that become wild cards, right? 4. The Atlanta Falcons now pick 4th. We expect that quarterbacks are going to go 1, 2, 3, from Trevor Lawrence to Zach Wilson to Mac Jones.
Well, this could be a quarterback.
It could be Justin Fields, but it'll be a quarterback.
Yeah. Yes.
So Atlanta picks at 4. It doesn't sound like they're itching to take a quarterback, especially when they're putting it out there that they're open for business. So does someone trade up to number 4 to get a quarterback, and that continues to push the Chase Pitts down a little bit? I still agree with you that Chase and Pitts probably don't make it past Miami and Cincinnati there at 5, 6, but then you still have your corners on the board. And then really at 7, right? 7, 8, 9, that's where I think that will tell the story of how this draft is going to go. Now, the Panthers at 8, I think that's a fascinating spot now, Adam, because they've got their quarterback. Denver's picking at 9. Denver could theoretically use a quarterback. So does 8 become an area for Carolina to move down? Does that become like, does somebody want to move up to 8 for a quarterback, whether it be Fields or Trey Lance or something, right? Which would then make that the 4th or 5th quarterback to go off the board. Now you're starting to feel comfortable, if you're the Eagles, that at least one of those 2 corners might be there, or one of those 2 elite offensive linemen might be there, or Jalen Waddle might be there. Although I still think that he would be lower on their totem pole, but it kind of depends on what happens in that range. But I don't know that you wait around too long to find out either, because as you've mentioned this, it's kind of unpredictable there from 4 to 8. Any one of those teams could grab the player that the Eagles have their eyes on.
Yeah, and that to me right now is the issue that the Eagles with this Panthers trade. When it was made, I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? And then when I started doing my needs board, and I asked them, I have 2 people that I trust with everything when I run NFL stuff by. They both said said the same thing. Like, if you're looking for a corner receiver, you're picking the teens. Good luck, because the 2 Alabama receivers are going to be gone by 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
The top 2 corners who we've all talked about, they're going to be gone. So I don't know. This Panthers trade throws a wrench, I think, to the Eagles' plans. And now they have all these picks. We've been saying for the last 2 weeks, Eagles absolutely will not pick 11 players, whether it's trading up, trading down, trading for picks next year. One way or the other, going to do something. As a matter of fact, I think in my opinion, based on the information I have, I think it would be a minor surprise if they stay at 12. Why? Because I don't think the board is going to. I'd be surprised if all these players that you and I have talked about for the last 2 or 3 weeks are there. Because now you throw the wrench in with the Panthers trade, and all these teams ahead of them that need corners and wide receivers. If you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just talked about the Falcons. They also could use a corner. They don't need to do it. Their defense was awful last season, but they need more pass rushers, playmakers. They should survive whatever the Falcons do. Okay, the Bengals need a receiver. The Dolphins need a wide receiver. Absolutely need a receiver. The Lions at 7 need the Eagles' 2 biggest needs happen to be the Lions' 2 biggest needs, receiver or corner, however you want to slice it up. The Panthers' 2 biggest needs are cornerback and wide receiver. Cornerback, they're almost a mirror image. As a matter of fact, they're worse off at corner than the Eagles are. Dante Jackson is their best corner. He had a turf toe injury. He didn't play a lot last season. This is why Rasul Douglas was claimed off waivers and played.
Mm-hmm.
He played a lot for them early on because they didn't have anybody else, but then reality hit and he got benched. Cowboys. Okay, Cowboys at 10. Every mock draft, not everyone, but a lot of mock drafts out there taking Surtain. Well, that's not a good thing. Right. Now, they'll survive the Giants. Giants don't have the same needs the Eagles do. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem, Jeff. I would be surprised just based on this Panthers trade now, because now the Panthers are square up there for a corner and wide receiver. Then they also need linemen. Let me throw this one at you. Penei Sewell, his pro day, his arms are not long. Mm-hmm. Like, they were not long for left tackle. I need more information on this, but a couple guys I talked to said to me, this is not good if you wanted him to be your left tackle. He's got not arm length like Andre Dillard, but they're not long. And he could drop a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to drop out of the top 10, but he could drop a little bit. That actually would help the Eagles. If he would drop to the Panthers offensive line was awful last season. They need linemen. Mm-hmm. If the Broncos see him as a right tackle, they don't have a right tackle right now, that would help them. So something like that. The Eagles need a little luck here, I think, unfortunately.
They do. I feel like the Eagles are caught in a bad spot because of really their deficiencies, Adam. They're desperate, so to speak, right? Because they're very, very bad at cornerback after Darius Slay. And they have gaping holes on their team. I mean, they do need a young pass rusher. They obviously need a linebacker, defensive lineman we've talked about. So why I say that they're desperate, ordinarily, if you're all right with your current 53 and you're just trying to take the best player available, you can take that philosophy. I'm just going to sit here at 12 and watch, 4 or 5 quarterbacks go, see the talent get pushed down, and I'm either going to get a good corner, a really good pass rusher, potentially a good offensive lineman in that cluster. And even if you were BPA, you might consider Micah Parsons and say he might fall to us too. But because the Eagles, in my opinion, are so bad at corner right now after Darius Slay and so needy, and you know how they are when they want a player, they get a little bit more itchy and they will make a move for a player they really want. I kind of agree with you that I feel like if they want to be certain that they get that they get Patrick Surtain, that they're probably not going to be able to just kind of sit there and wait. They may have to make a move and throw in some draft stock to make that.
I agree.
So that they get over Dallas at least, and maybe even get over ahead of Carolina.
All right. So if they stay at 12 and the top corners and receivers are gone, now we're in the Kwity Paye conversation,
right?
Because this is around the area. I think he would go anywhere from 12 to 20. The word around the league is tremendous upside as a pass rusher. I know his pass rush numbers aren't great, but again, it's about projecting. It's not about any kind of certainty about, okay, this is what he only had these many sacks. Well, then that's what he is. And that's not the way it works.
Right.
What does the tape show you? What's his growth spurt as a pass rusher? With good coaching, how much better could he get, and so forth. So, Parsons, we'll get into him when we talk linebackers in a second, but there's definitely some concerns there. It's not a tape issue; it's other stuff.
Yes,
which a lot of people know about. But this thing, I'm fascinated to see what the Eagles do. I wasn't so concerned about it for them a week ago, but then with this trade and know what the Panthers' needs are, everyone I've talked to tells me the same thing. They're seeing what I'm seeing. I always ask guys, hey, do you think this is accurate? And that every team has done a needs board already for every team, so they could reel it off without even looking sometimes, because we're only 3 weeks away, less than 3 weeks away. So it's Thursday, so people, guys know. And it just so happens, Dolphins, Lions, Panthers, not as much, but they certainly could use a receiver. Bengals, all need receivers, so it's going to be hard for the Eagles to get one of those top guys. The teams that need corners, Falcons, but not as much. They should survive. Eagles should survive the corner issue of the Falcons. Lions, major need. Panthers, major need. Cowboys, major need. Dicey. It's dicey.
It is dicey. I wonder what the cost of moving up to 9 with the Broncos would be, because I feel like, all right, the Panthers could take a corner. That's very true. But that's all right. If you're not married to Surtain, that's all right, and you're happy with J.C. Horn. And maybe, I guess the story is yet to be told on Caleb Farley. Q&A really love that guy. They think he'd be great. Obviously, the injuries and the surgery are going to factor in. But, as we sit here today, I don't know if that's going to knock him down like 5 pegs or an entire round. I have no idea.
I still think he gets drafted in the first round. Just on the intel that I have. You have to take a leap of faith. He's played corner for 2 years. The tape is incredible.
Right.
Like Cosell, I think Cosell talked about it on our show. Folks, if you've missed it, please listen. The education Greg gave us on the top corners, and Farley's tape is so intriguing, and he's such an athlete, and he's a former quarterback, and it's almost in a way, it's kind of funny in a similar way to Lane Johnson, in that Lane was a former quarterback. That's where he started. And, he played tight end. He moved around. I mean, Lane is such an incredible athlete. Farley is a guy that at Virginia Tech, they were going to move him to receiver. And then after they made a decision then for, I don't know, and I need to find this out. Why did they decide to move him to corner? I mean, they obviously felt he can do it. But his play, not speed, his style of play is so intriguing, so different than any of these. Like, he's the most unique corner for this draft. Striking, he'll tackle. He just does so many things well, despite playing the position only for a limited amount of time. He leaves you wanting more, which is a great thing. That's what you want. But the problem is with his injury history, ACL, 2 back surgeries.
Yeah, it's not.
He's going to drop. He's going to go at best. He's going to go in the. I would say 20 to 32 is probably his range, but if you take him, you have to feel like you're not worried about him playing year one, because there's some risk there.
Right. Which makes him almost a perfect kind of grab for guys in that mid to late round, teams in the mid to late rounds that will do that.
Mid to late first, yes.
Mid to late first, of course. All right, let's go. We'll continue to talk about it. First, I want to remind everyone it's everyone's favorite tournament of the year, The golfers are in Augusta, Georgia to compete for that coveted jacket, and DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you in the center of the action by giving you a shot to land one on the green. This week, DraftKings is giving you 100-1 odds on the golfer of your choosing to finish in the top 10. If you haven't tried DraftKings, this is the time to do it. Turn $1 into $100. It's simple. Just pick any golfer from this weekend's tournament, and if they finish in the top 10, you cash $100. 100-1 odds on an offer like this does not come around often, so sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook now to get in on all the action and choose your golfer before the tournament tees off Thursday morning. DraftKings is secure and reliable and safe. You can deposit your money and your funds at your convenience, and you can withdraw it at your convenience as well. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code ITB when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 if the golfer of your choosing finishes in the top 10 of this weekend's tournament. That's code ITB to turn $1 into $100 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so let's kind of summarize this here or finish it up on what they do. As you sit here right now, do you kind of feel like the Eagles are going to make a move? You said it would be not a minor surprise, or
I would say it would be if they stay, there would be a minor surprise because I just feel that the receiver and cornerback board is going to be hit before they've got 11 teams picking ahead of them currently after the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now obviously they could either wait to make a trade closer because every team has trade calls. Every team has talked to every team so far. And then what happens is the scenario is this: hey, listen, if something happens and our guy is gone, we're going to want to trade out. So let's stay in touch, and because they want to get an idea. Hey, would you be interested in doing this if something happened? These trade calls are already made.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to think if it doesn't work out well, if the corners and receivers are gone, they either stay and take a guy like Pay, the Michigan DN, which I think would be a solid pick, because we know that they're light, they're real light at that position in terms of depth, and then Brandon Graham's not going to play forever. They have to eventually replace him, and that's kind of what I think they're looking at with this Panthers trade. It's what I said this in the live stream. I said, folks, we're going to be talking about this. This is a big deal. Way bigger than I imagined. I kind of unfortunately underestimated it when it happened. I didn't really look at it, and I overreacted. It's not a big deal for this team and then when I started looking at the needs board, so I'd finished it Tuesday night, I think. I'm like, oh my God, what did I say? This absolutely impacts it. Are you kidding me?
Well,
the exact opposite. So I'm like, all right, I got to change my mind on this one. Anyway,
I'm trying to find the sweet spot here. And I got, if you're going to use a little second level thinking, right? If you're Howie Roseman, looking at this board, at 7, the Lions pick. They picked Jeff Okudah last year at what?
5 or 3. He didn't play well. By the way, he did not play well.
But no. I can't remember the last time an organization used consecutive top 5, top 10 picks.
I get it.
Quarterback position.
Guess what? New front office though.
Yeah. Let's see. So they brought in the guy from the Rams.
Yep.
I don't know. It's if they brought in like a Patriots guy like they had, I'd say, definitely might be taking a corner. But I'm wondering if you're not married to Surtain, if you're willing to have either Surtain or Horn, right? And I don't know what the Eagles are, but if you're not, you may want to risk letting Detroit make that pick, hope they take a receiver, and now you still got the 2 guys left for the Panthers and Broncos, and then you start to talk with the Broncos. You say, all right, the Panthers are up. They're almost assuredly going to take either one of the other, Surtain or Horn. Let's talk to the Broncos about moving up over the Cowboys. I don't want, you don't want to move up to 7 if you don't think you have to.
Cowboys. We need to start talking about them in our future shows because their number 1 need is corner.
Well, yeah.
I know they took Diggs last year, the second rounder, Trayvon, that's Stefan's brother. But man, Jordan Lewis doesn't run very well. I mean, he's a decent player, but they need an outside corner in the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me to get their defense to be complete. We know they're good at linebacker. The D tackle also is a problem for them. They've had some injuries, but man, corner is a major need for them. And You're right. It's funny because I would love to see if the Eagles get Roseman or their front office, do they get itchy over knowing the Cowboys need, and do they go, oh boy, we need to train in front of them? That's a great point you make. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but that's absolutely something that could happen.
Yeah, and then you wonder if the Broncos over there are like, oh, you're trying to leapfrog your division rivals who your fans hate. Ordinarily, it would cost whatever, but I'm going to make it. No, I don't know if they play games like that and they try to raise the ante, because moving up for a quarterback shouldn't cost you like a future first or anything like that.
Yeah, because you're only moving up if you only move from 12 to 9. Exactly right.
Right.
We'll look at that over the next couple of shows, what the value is for it.
Yeah.
But that's
the spot.
I'm sorry?
9 is the spot, though. I feel like if
the sweet spot. Yes.
Yeah.
The issue is there. If the Broncos are going for a quarterback, whoever that guy may be, if it's the fourth guy, they've got to know that they're going to get him. They got to know if they could trade a 12 that they could get him, because when it's about the quarterback, you take the guy and you just shut everything off. You go, this is our guy. You don't worry about what the public thinks.
Right.
You just have to be right. Because when Ryan Pace missed on Trubisky, people will. It's someone. Hub Arkush, who covering the Bears for decades in Chicago, he's on NFL radio with us on Saturday. He made a great point. He goes, no matter what Ryan Pace does, even if they win a Super Bowl, no one will ever forget he passed on Mahomes and Watson.
That's
particularly
true.
Obviously Mahomes is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And those things mark your career forever, no matter how well you do.
Yep.
The fact that Jeff, just to give you an idea, folks, before we move on, Jeff and I are working for 97.5 The Fanatic. And it was at the draft in Philly. And I guess it gets announced that the Bears are moving up, making a trade with the Niners. Was that what they did?
Yep.
And we're looking at each other. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? And we couldn't figure it out.
Nope. Could not figure it out.
As soon as they drafted him, we literally almost had a heart attack. We were like, what?
Yeah. That was man, it didn't take too long for that draft to go get off the rails. Right there too.
Oh my God. We were like, and then the fans, of course, wanted the Eagles fans wanted the linebacker. Reuben Foster's been a disaster.
Oh God, man.
They wanted Foster.
They did.
In the worst way.
In the worst way.
They were pissed. Remember how they booed Jeff down there?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God. And I was like, okay, folks, he's got major off the field concerns.
Yeah.
Okay?
And he's had that plus injuries ever since he got into the league.
Too bad.
Where is he? Is he still with Washington?
Yes, technically. Wow. But he's had no career so far. He's been a disaster.
Yeah.
And Barnett, we were like, I remember Rick, okay, Reggie White, sack record and all that. Okay, this guy's got abilities. We get it. And unfortunately, he's been like that. Just so.
Right.
But
anyway. So. He's every year, last 2 years. This got to be his big breakout year. So we'll see, because he only got one of those left now here on the contract. And he's going to make a pretty good amount of money too. So
10 mil.
10 mil. All right. Check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They are enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of our great Philadelphia professional sports teams. They're for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. That's what makes them tick. So go check out all their great coverage and content on phlsportsnation.com. You can even visit them on Twitter at phlsportsnation. And we'll pause a moment here for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, and if you do visit Sky Motor Cars, make sure you tell them that Adam and Jeff sent you. You'll get a great deal. All right, let's get into these linebackers. We can kind of gloss over the first round, because we know that's the best thing about this thing. There's no guesswork involved. They ain't taking the linebacker in the first round.
No, they're not. Micah Parsons, let me start with him. I know people compare him to Isaiah Simmons, and it's a fair one. The problem is very simple. He's got major off the field concerns. We're not Reuben Foster type, but they're concerns. Trouble, as one scouting source said, unfortunately seems to find him sometimes, whether it's people around him. He's not a bad kid, but folks, this is, I've covered this business for 21 years. When 5 or 6 people mention the same stuff to you, you got to take it seriously.
Right. But
he's really gifted. He's a flash player. You can move him around. You can line up at end. You can line up at strong side linebacker. If you're 34 defense, you can move him anywhere you want. Just a really gifted player. I'll be very interested to see if he drops. Very interested to see if he drops at the top 10. Because if you take the off the field stuff off the table, he's going top 10. There's
Right.
no way you pass on him in the top 10.
Right.
Without that.
Well, I can't believe you're slandering my Penn State guys, but no, it's fair. I've heard the same things, and some of it is even out there.
It's out there. Yeah.
And I will say though, that was a couple of years ago, so it's been removed. But obviously, if people are digging up more and have those concerns, then they have those concerns, and we'll see.
If it's out there, look, if it happened 3 years ago, it happened. Whatever happened,
right?
Happened, right? Whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 1 year,
right?
You got to get the bottom. Like, let me give an example of Damon Arnett. Okay, Damon Arnett, the Ohio State corner, was first rounder for the Raiders. So the Raiders, as it was explained to me, they knew that he had some off the field concerns.
Mm-hmm.
They interviewed him before they could even ask him. He started talking. Hey, I know you're going to ask me about this, and this. He owned up to it. He explained it. He had an answer for it, and they felt so good that he was prepared to explain. He didn't back off. He owned it.
Right.
And that's what you got to do in life when you've not always done the right thing, is say, I screwed up, and here it is. You can count on me, and no issues year one. I know he had some injuries, and he didn't have a great rookie season, but when it comes to off the field stuff, man, you gotta have answers, because these teams, they only get so much access to you because you can't bring them into their building pre-draft.
Right.
And that's a big issue.
No doubt about it. And that will be another team's issue to deal with, not the Eagles. The second round, I do think, though, Adam, it's where they pick 37th overall, correct? No, that's not right. Is that right? Do I have that correct?
It's within the top 5 of the second round.
Yeah, so maybe it is 37th. I don't know why I blanked there. That's a real good pick. First of all, that's a pick that you can maybe sandwich with another if you do want to move into the back end of the first round. Actually, you could sandwich a third rounder and something if you want, but maybe a second and a third to move into the back end in the first round if they wanted to do that.
37, correct. That is correct. 37.
Right, but a guy like Zaven Collins, all right, he's a Tulsa linebacker, and Q&A we're talking about him. I've heard some great things about him. It's about his ability to just run, cover, diagnose, do everything. This is a kid who, even though he played at Tulsa, which isn't the highest level of competition, seems to have all those great traits that the Eagles are particularly looking for from a linebacker in nowadays game, the new age game, where you can run and cover and kind of pass all those check marks. So I don't know. It sounds like if he's that good, he might be a bottom first round guy. But maybe because he played at Tulsa, it knocks him into the second round. But that's a guy that I think we should keep our eyes on, because he's got everything, all those kind of traits, those physical traits, like that the Eagles saw probably in Davion Taylor. But he's not new to the position, and he's he's got great football intelligence, and it'll probably be, those guys in the second round start flying off, because a lot of 4-3 teams feel the same way about the Eagles, where they'd rather get that linebacker in the second or third round. But then once it happens, you start to see those guys fly. Last year we saw that a bunch of linebackers went in the second and the third round.
And third, in fact, top of third, the kid that the Eagles really like was Wilson, the linebacker from, where was he from? Montana?
I want to say Wyoming. No.
Wyoming or Montana, one of those, right? Who went to the Bengals first pick in the third round. The Eagles absolutely wanted. When I say wanted him, they liked the guy a lot.
Right.
Obviously they took Taylor later,
and
he's such a project. I still don't understand why they took him earlier than they did. Now, if it works out for them before the end of his rookie contract, he's one of their nickel linebackers. If he's an outstanding nickel cover linebacker, because we know teams play 65 to 70% sub, then it may work. Now, but the argument is you still could have gotten him later. That I'm pretty certain of. You and I had a pretty similar information, 5th or 6th round, probably 5th.
Yeah.
It's just, when you do that stuff, you scratch your head. You really do scratch your head. But hey, whatever. He's right now, he may have to play a lot. The hope is obviously if they draft 3 linebackers or add 3 by August, including free agency, that he could be a sub guy, and we'll see if it works. But getting back to this draft, that kid you mentioned is fascinating. But my guy, I'm going to say it's rare that because it's such linebacker is not a position that I talk to people a lot about, but almost every scouting source I spoke to, and I'm going way up with some teams. I mentioned Jamin Davis. Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe it. Jamin Davis or Jamin Davis,
however you say it. Right. He is a fun linebacker. Kentucky historically, and I don't understand why this is. they have linebackers who are on the thinner side, like not real big. They're not 250, 260. This guy's about 235, 6'3" and a half. Okay. His pro day workout was elite. Now I understand it's only a pro day,
Right.
but you always have to match up tape with pro day numbers. Like if a guy's pro day was exceptional, and we know that some of these are crazy exceptional because they're not at the combine, the times are faster. But if the tape that you watch from his pro day is exceptional, which it was, you match it up to his college tape, then you got something. He's going to go in rounds 2 or 3.
All right.
This is a type of linebacker that would fit in well here with the Eagles with this new scheme, because you got Anthony Barr is a bigger, strong side linebacker. Like he's this guy, he's long and he's much bigger physically, but this kid could run. He's a playmaker. The one knock on him, that's true because the tape shows it, he doesn't shed super well. He's not a big time hitter, but he's so athletic and he's a mover and he could do so many different things for you. He's a fun player. Dylan Moses from Alabama, also 6'3", 240, rounds 3 to 4.
Yeah.
He's more of a short tackler. Short tackler. He's a player. These are guys we're going to get more intel on, because I would say this. You asked the question earlier. I could see if they get their corner in round 1, they don't have to get a receiver the first couple of rounds. Not that the Eagles trust Fulgham totally right now, because obviously he faded big time after that 4-game stretch.
Right.
But he's in the mix for the X position, and it doesn't mean they can't draft a guy in the 3rd. This is a pretty deep receiver class here.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, I agree with you. A couple of guys in the 2nd round for linebacker, Adam. There's a kid named from Missouri, Nick Bolton.
Yep.
Who does not. This is where you wonder about the Eagles and their priorities versus what the tape says sometimes, because he ran a 4.6, which is not great. But Q&A made a point. They really like this kid. They think he diagnoses really well. He plays the position like a veteran, good player, can do everything you're asking for. He just didn't, blow up the 40. I think he ran a 4.59, 4.6, something like that. So, but he's still one of the higher ranked, higher rated linebackers in the draft.
He's short. Yeah. Cause he's not quite 6 feet, which you worry about. Right.
And then of course, Baron Browning from Ohio State, another kid, from a school that's pretty good at producing defensive players, linebackers, secondary players. I know Andrew DiCecco has written about him, and he had the Eagles taking Baron Browning in his last Eagles mock draft in the 2nd round.
Long. He is long, over 6'3", 240. Like it's just funny. And this is going back over 2 decades, and folks can tell me if I'm wrong. I'll be fine with it. But folks, please tell me if they ever had anyone who was long. I'm talking about a guy 6'3". Stuart Bradley was. Stuart Bradley,
yeah. Gokong was 6'3",
6'4", right. Gokong was a former college D-end.
Yep.
Who got moved to linebacker. Now, Stuart Bradley was your prototypical old school but athletic linebacker. It's been over a decade since they've had anyone who's long.
Yeah.
Stuart Bradley, had he not suffered that torn ACL, what I called Fright Night, that's when he tore his ACL in the the practice at the link, he was an absolute stud. Oh,
Had a really good first year. I
mean, he was going to be a great player, man. They got that one right. It's too bad, man.
Yeah, from Nebraska.
Correct. And Cosell loved him. I remember Greg loved him for the draft. And I remember him saying, I told you he was going to be good. I said, I know. This kid, it was a 3rd rounder. Was it a 3rd rounder?
Yes, 3rd round pick.
He 6'3", 262.5, 6'3", 250, was an absolute stud. And
yeah.
He was he played for Denver for a little bit. He was never the same after the ACL. What a shame.
Yes. Unlike the other linebacker they took from Nebraska much later, Nate Gary, who was really a safety. This guy, Stu Bradley, he was meant to play linebacker. He was
Browning is long, man. This kid is real interesting. I'm glad you brought him up. Baron Brown, a cool name.
And Jabril Cox out of LSU, a lot of people like. So we'll see. He's kind of considered a round 2.
Yeah, Jabril Cox, right? And he's another guy who's just under 6'3". He's more of an athletic, not super physical. Take the guy out.
Right.
We're gonna revisit in about a week or so the linebacker group. We're gonna take a broader look, but we wanted to just scratch, as Jeff said, just scratch the surface here. But we know it'll never be a priority with the way this decisions are made at linebacker here for years.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm very curious with a new D coordinator and a new scheme that's going to be completely different from Schwartz. It couldn't be more different the way that they're doing this defense. Philosophy's different. Just everything they're going to do is be different here. So I do wonder if the physical size will change.
Mm-hmm.
You had said that they weren't looking for anything. What did you report? What did you put on our show?
That they don't have position specifics as far as like they're not there. There's been no mandate that a guy has to be 6'3" to 6'5"
like
or
Chip.
weight 220 to 215.
Right.
Even Doug, I had found out. I was surprised to find out that Doug had some position specific traits that he put emphasis on that didn't necessarily always go well with the people who are the scouting. Like
on defense.
No, just overall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Doug had a little tiny bit of Chip Kelly in him, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, that's a really good nugget.
Until I was told that.
That's really funny. I never have heard anyone say that. I wonder what positions. I wonder if he
apparently he wasn't big on the running back from Wisconsin that went to the Colts. What's his name?
John Taylor. He's a stud. Really?
Yeah, there were some things about, I think Doug liked the shorter, scattier type more than the thicker, upright type.
So. All right. Well, he's going to be wrong about that one. And ironically, represents Jonathan Taylor.
Who's that?
Former Eagle Barry Gardner.
Oh, interesting. I forgot about that. I mean, I knew he was an agent, and I just didn't realize he represented Taylor.
Another former second rounder Eagle from Northwestern.
Speaking of former Eagles, let's close it out on this. Yep. I think we reported this when it happened that, yes, Jim Schwartz was going to step away from the Eagles for a little bit. There was this buzz of health concerns, and I remember saying what I was told it was, he's got health. It's not as bad as it's made to seem, right? And well, here he pops up, and he's going to rejoin the Tennessee Titans defensive staff, according to a report there. And of course, Ken Flajole has resurfaced as Andy Reid's outside linebackers coach now. So I just find that interesting. It's two guys. Listen, I know Flajole is not the most popular among fans, and for good reasons, but these two guys still wanted to coach clearly or be involved in some way, and they are, and it's not for the Eagles. So make of that what you will.
Yeah. Couple things here. Flajole asked out of his Eagles contract.
Yep.
As I understand it. He didn't even wait around for the new staff. He just left and he wanted out. I don't know the reasons. And then with Schwartz, I'm told that he lives in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows some of the coaches on the staff, and he's going to come on as a senior defensive assistant, or I don't know the title that they're using, but it's definitely happening, I'm told.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Look, that's a great resource for, in fact, the coach that is running their defense, I think it's Shane Bowen.
Okay.
Is a Vrabel protege who came with him from the Texans.
Right.
So this is actually a really smart move by Vrabel.
Sure.
To get someone with Jim's, experience. I understand they run a different defense. That's not really the issue. The thing is to get someone who could give them another set of eyes when they watch tape or whatever, a resource. It's a good move, smart move. Absolutely.
And it goes to show you what we've said. You can still bring in these kind of guys this late in the off season. So we'll see if Nick Sirianni winds up doing that with an offensive assistant.
Look, someone asked me on Twitter, and I just said, someone asked me that question. It's funny, on Wednesday they asked me, and I said nothing. I said nope when they asked me about whether that they any word on the offensive assistant, the senior coming in. But I know they looked into it. I don't know why it hasn't happened. But as I remember talking to the Browns, they brought in Kevin Rogers, who worked with Stefanski in Minnesota. They brought him in like July or August. So
yeah.
It's not big. Doesn't have to happen now. The season doesn't start till September, but you definitely would like to have a guy in. It would be an upset to me if there's no one hired to by September. I would be surprised by that.
Agreed. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. You can check out his work on his YouTube channel. It's called Sports Talk with Broads. He has a new Twitter account, @BroadsMedia. Make sure you check that out and follow @BroadsMedia on Twitter as well. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.